everyone, my name is W97 and welcome to another Destiny video. Today we're going to start off with raid weapons. Are they good? Are they bad? And can they be better? So today we're going to start off with, we're going to look at the weapons from the final raid of the Destiny franchise, the Wrath of the Machine. Now honestly, first off we're going to focus on both the heavy and the special weapons for the Wrath of the Machine. And then next week, the last week of Destiny before Destiny 2 comes out, we're going to check out the primary weapons. But before we get started, I would like to tell you guys about my Facebook and Twitter. I have a Destiny fan page called NWHunt97's Gaming Community. I have everything, all things Destiny, and I have exclusive content coming there about every week or so. Only problem is I don't have any exclusive content for the past 2 weeks, so maybe I'll put something in this week. So keep an eye on that. Also, go ahead and check out my Twitter. It's called NWHunt97. I'm always on there. You can always find me. If you have any questions, you can always message me there. And both of these two things are both linked in the description, and it'll just make it easier for you guys to find those two places for my channel. It's just good to like spread out with like social media and all that. And I might like go into Twitch in a little bit, but not now, guys. Okay, so first off, we're starting with the heavy weapons. So let's start off with the rocket launcher, Sound and Fury. Now before we get started with the weapons, a really cool thing with the Wrath of the Machine weapons is that every time you get a drop from one of these, you always get the possibility of either getting a solar, void, or arc damage weapon, which is actually really good on my book. Because sometimes I feel that some of the weapons would be better depending on what kind of elemental they would be. So with my Sound and Fury, I have a solar damage one, and it doesn't matter whether it's arc or void. Really, I prefer to have void, just how the Wrath of the Machine works. Really, with the void shielded captains, just to go against them pretty well. Um, yeah, really, if you want to use the best elemental, the best the best type would be void. So, pretty cool. Okay, so first off, we have Wolverin's Curse. This weapon does bonus damage against Fallen, bonus agility when this weapon is equipped. This is actually a really good perk. It's really similar to the Taken Will, where it just does bonus damage. However, you also get the bonus ability for getting agility as well, which can actually be pretty good if you actually care for something like that, like minor multi-tool, max agility, and then you can have like a Wrath of the Machine weapon, so you can have bonus agility. Yeah, this is honestly okay. Really, you want with these type of weapons, you always want to have like the bonus damage against the Fallen. So, you know, this weapon is made for the Wrath of the Machine and for some other activities involving the Fallen. Every raid weapon has this perk, and overall, it's very, very handy against Fallen. Okay, so the first skill tree, you have Linear Compensator, Heart Launch, and Warhead Rainiers? Maybe? Anyway, out of all these, you probably want to go for a hard launch because, you know, you basically have the exact same stats with a little smidge of stability. So you want to go high with that, and plus you get more blast radius while you have this perk. The first skill tree for this rocket launcher is Spray and Play. Increases the reload speed for this weapon when the magazine is empty. So this is actually really good with rocket launchers. The thing about this weapon is that it has 3 in the magazine, which is a lot for a rocket launcher. So when you actually use this weapon and you make it empty, you can automatically reload, and it helps you with DPS. And honestly, this rocket launcher is specifically made for crowd control, and that's what rocket launchers are supposed to be. And this rocket launcher definitely likes to show that. Okay, for the second perk tree, we have Javelin. speed reload, and quick draw. Really, what's really good is I would recommend having Javelin on, and Javelin is actually really good for a rocket launcher. And since this weapon has high blast radius and velocity, this will make this an excellent weapon as like your go-to rocket launcher. Last but certainly not least, you have wait for it. Reloading this weapon when the magazine is empty grants a larger than the normal magazine. This actually is an excellent perk on this rocket launcher. And instead of having 3 to the magazine while you reload it, you actually get 4, which is actually really interesting. So, is this weapon good? Is it bad? And can it be better? I'm gonna give this a thumbs up right here. This is actually a good rocket launcher. Now, granted, this is not like a rocket launcher made for like doing DPS on bosses. Not enough for DPS for certain enemies, or even like taking out something with one really big, with one punch, basically. This rocket, the thing about rocket launchers is that a lot of people seem to forget that it's all about crowd control with this weapon. And Sound and Fury is specifically made for crowd control. So since rocket launchers are made for crowd control and Sound and Frenzy is good for crowd control, then this is basically the essential rocket launcher that you want to use. Um, in certain situations with any raid, it's absolutely fantastic. I could definitely see me using this weapon in the Vault of Glass even. When a whole bunch of the fanatics come out of like in the bottom of the stairs, I just uh, pop a whole bunch of rockets against the enemies. And since you have for a magazine of 4, when you use the particular perks of this weapon, then it's pretty easy to take out all of the enemies that are coming from the downstairs area of the Vault of Glass while fighting the Templar. Other than that, um, yeah, this is honestly, this is just a good rocket launcher overall, and certain situations, this is actually can be quite devastating. I would probably give this a solid 3.7. It's actually one of the best rocket launchers up there. I'm a big fan of it. Of course, I still love Hunger Crota because it's the best. Okay, so the second heavy weapon is if materia. This materia. What's actually interesting is that this weapon reminds me of materia, which is the system used for Final Fantasy VII. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you could just look up Final Fantasy, and then you'll figure out what materia is. Uh, Same thing with Sound and Fury. The if materia could be Solar, Void, or Arc. I prefer to have Void or Solar on this weapon. Specifically because you can have some very fun reactions with some Cabal or Wizards, which are actually really good for certain circumstances. And with Void, you definitely want to go against the Captains. But other than that, it doesn't really matter with the Elementals. This weapon kind of wants to shoot a long time, and I'll show you in a little bit the reason why. Okay, so obviously you have Wilwyn's Curse, which is on all raid weapons from the Wrath of the Machine, and it's a good perk, and it's good against Fallen. So the first skill tree on this machine gun, the If Materia, is Slinger Compensator, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke. Honestly, I'll probably choose Slinger Compensator because, you have more range and impact. And this is just overall good for most weapons. I basically recommend the linear compensator for absolutely every weapon from the King's Fall, so I'll probably recommend that as well. Accurate Ballistic is good too, but I always feel linear compensator is just the best option for these weapons. Okay, so the second perk tree, which is actually a very interesting, I've never seen machine gun that has this perk. It's triple tap, which is mostly used for hand cannons, snipers, and scout rifles. So, what this weapon does is rapidly landing precision hits will return 1 round to the magazine. So it's specifically 3 hits. So, the thing about this weapon is it has the highest rate of fire, horrible stability, horrible range, horrible impact, but somewhat okay reload. What makes this good is that it has 88 in the magazine, and you can use triple tap to bring back some of the ammo that you already have. Uh, with this perk, this is actually really good against tanks like the Devil Walker or the Cabal tank, or even some bosses from strikes. This is actually really good for, really strike this machine gun. So if you're using a strike, if you're doing the strike, you should use this machine gun. And honestly, this is a very fun machine gun, if I say so myself. Okay, for the second perk tree, you have extended mag, speed reload, speed reload, and brace frame. Now, I honestly, the thing about this perk tree is I don't recommend any of these perks. Why? It's honestly personal preference. Some people like some extra reload speed because, you're using triple tap, but since you're using a whole bunch of your bullets very quickly because of high rate of fire, people want this speed reload. Um, some people want to have the highest magazine as possible, so you can have the highest amount of DPS with this weapon, and I personally choose this, perk. What a lot of people would use is brace frame. Since this weapon has so much rate of fire, is extremely jumpy, they prefer to have brace frame and just have more utility with this weapon. And overall, that's probably the best option. But me personally, I prefer extended mag because how I use this weapon really really shines using this weapon. Okay, this is the last perk for the if materia. Um, Triple double. When triple double perk is triggered, an extra bullet is transferred from your reserves to the magazine. Okay, so basically this is an extra triple tap within the if materia. So instead of actually firing this weapon and getting 3 precision shots, which is actually very quick if you're firing this weapon. And if you get 3 precision shots, instead of getting 1 bullet back to the magazine, you get 2 bullets from the magazine, which can be very, very interesting. So, me personally using 88 bullets in the magazine, and plus you have triple tap or triple double, you can get, and if you get every single precision shot um, with this machine gun, then you're gonna basically have if my math is correct, over 240 bullets within the magazine. Now this is what makes this machine gun shine, is just being like, I don't know, what's a famous person with a machine gun? Like Dwayne Johnson from the Fast and Furious using a Gatling gun, or just destroying a helicopter. Like, that's what the feeling this is with this machine gun. You just want to fire continuously, and if your aim is true, then you'll continuously fire until you run out of the bullets, the many bullets that you have. Um, this is actually a really fun machine gun, and honestly, I totally recommend using it for strikes specifically. This isn't the best for the Wrath Machine all the way because of how some of the mechanics work, but overall, this is still a fun machine gun to grab. Okay, so the question is though, is it good? Is it bad? And can it be better? Um, I like it. Some people don't. It really depends on how you use it. Much like the Sound and Fury, there are specific moments where this gun absolutely shines. This really, that's the theme of the Wrath of the Machine weapons. Like certain circumstances, if you have the certain situation uh, activated, then this gun will automatically shine. That's the main cause of the game. Like you want to use if materia as much as possible while holding down the trigger. That's the goal of this weapon. Um, so with the situations that you can get all your bullets, you know, connected with the precision shots, then yes, this machine gun is extremely fun to use. But if you cannot connect any of the precision shots with this weapon, or if you're just fighting an average Vex Minotaur, then honestly, this isn't the best weapon. Overall, I'll probably give this about, I cannot be biased here. I'll give this a 3.3, mainly because of its utility and for certain circumstances, but also for some of the, you know, for some of the usage for Destiny. Uh, I would say it's excellent with strikes, but not so good with any of the raids. And yeah, um, that's the if materia. Certainly, you could make this a little bit better. You know, like having more stability and range and all that. Okay, so now we're gonna start off with the special weapons, and some of the special weapons are absolutely fantastic right here. Okay, so first off, we're gonna start with the Quantum Plasm, the first special weapon we're talking about in this video. And like every elemental weapon, you can either get void, solar, or arc damage, depending on what you're going, depending on what RNG gives you. Me personally, I would definitely recommend having Quantum Plasm have void, specifically with certain circumstances with the raid, with the Wrath of the Machine, because of the void shielded captains. Okay, excuse me, everyone. So the Quantum Plasm has Wolverine's Curse, like every Wrath of the Machine weapon. I'm getting really sick of saying this with, you know, specific perks that comes with these weapons. So for the first perk tree, we have Linger Compensator, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke. You know me, I always recommend Linger Compensator with most of these weapons, unless otherwise. So choose that. So the first perk on this weapon is Battle Runner. Kills with this weapon grants a brief boost to sprint's top speed. This is actually really interesting for a shotgun. A lot of people actually like to use this for PvP, mainly because like they actually prefer to have speed over armor. So since they want to have that speed, then it's actually really fun to have a shotgun with Battle Runner, and then you have really good range perks, and a lot of people can have a lot of fun using this perk. So for the second perk tree, we have Hand Loaded, Speed Reload, and Small Bore. Honestly, out of all of this, I'll prefer to have, with any shotgun, you want to have as much range and as much impact as possible. So with Hand Loaded, you will get a good amount of range, and with Small Bore, you will get the exact same amount of range and some more stability, which is good. Unfortunately, though, you'll have a magazine size of 4. Honestly, this weapon is better for PvE, so hand load is probably your best bet because you know, it has high impact, and you probably want to have a high magazine as possible. So you want to use that. And plus, if you have a low magazine and lower reload speed, that's probably not recommended for this weapon. So use hand loaded at all times, basically. Okay, last but certainly not least, you have running interference. Grants increased armor while the battle runner perk is active. This perk, this is what makes the gun right here. Since not only you get an extra boost to agility when you're having get a kill with this weapon, you also get a bonus to armor, which is actually really good. Trying to get out of trouble. So let's say if someone's trying to kill you, both specifically in PvE, like a little drag, just try to get your health bar to red, and you kill that drag, and you have battle runner and battle interface on. So this is probably a good time to go ahead and retreat. So you go ahead and get the heck out of the dangerous spot you're at. And since your increased agility helps you, you try to get out of there a lot quicker. And the running interface helps you with your armor, so you take less damage while doing it. Overall, this is actually really good for utility. Every time you get a kill, you'll always get these perks, and it's running at all times. I actually like this gun. So is this weapon good? Is it bad? And can it be better? This is actually a good shotgun. This is definitely a gun of utility. It has good impact. It actually has okay range, and it's just overall a good shotgun. What's probably the low standpoints of this weapon is that it has low firing rate, and you know, with PvE, you specifically want to have you know, a little bit of room of having a little bit higher of rate of fire, and you know, kind of like a you know, what's a good weapon that's like that? Yeah, a conspiracy theory type of a kind of archetype. In fact, do I have the conspiracy theory? Let's see here. Yeah, this is actually the same archetype as the Matador 64. So I like to have a little bit more rate of fire with this type of weapon. Overall, it's actually good enough. Um, yeah, basically, what would be good is if you were to make it better, you should change it to the archetype as the Found Verdict. That's the same archetype that I was talking about with the conspiracy theory. And yeah, overall, this is actually a really good shotgun. I totally recommend you get this on Void. And yeah, I'll give this about a 3.5. This is a solid weapon, and this is basically a automatic keep seize for this weapon once you grab it. Okay, so for the next weapon, you have Ether Nova. Wow, I'm pretty sure Bungie are taking all of their names with Wrath of the Machine weapons from Final Fantasy. Anyway, uh, Ether Nova will automatically either have Solar or Void available on depending on your RNG. I got Solar, so apparently so far I don't have any arc weapons for the Wrath of the Machine, but that's okay. You preferably want to either have Solar or Void with most of these weapons. Okay, so first off, you have Whirlwind's Curse with Ether Nova. So, and then, that's how it is with Wrath Machine. You always get a Pacific perk with all the weapons. Okay, so you have Linear Compensator, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke for your first skill tree. Out of all of these, it really depends on what you want. I prefer Linear Compensator, like always. Like, I should really I should be known for recommending linear compensator with everything, honestly. If linear compensator is in Destiny 2, then I'm basically gonna make an entire video all about linear compensator. The accuracy of Bliss is okay, but I prefer the boost to range and impact, and it's more predictable. And since you have something that's more predictable, then you're going to use it more often, and it's a fun time. So for the first skill tree, actually the first perk is Army of One. Quick, unassisted kills with this weapon reduce grenade and melee cooldown. This is actually a good perk overall. Specifically, if you like to use your abilities. And me as a main for a warlock, I like to use my abilities. So Army of One is overall a good perk for this weapon. Now I like to have Army of One on special weapons for some reason, specifically fusion rifles, because I feel that fusion rifles don't do as much damage as it really should be. Fortunately, in Destiny 2, it's got to be a heavy weapon, and they seem to do a lot of damage, which is good. So, since fusion rifles don't do as much damage, you can replace their usefulness with utility. And Army 1 is definitely a solid perk that you can use for utility with the Ether Nova. Okay, so the next perk tree, you have Small Bore, Speed Reload, and Brace Frame. Now, this seems to be a similar circumstance with If Materia, but this is not true. Out of all of these, I'll prefer to have Brace Frame, specifically for its stability. Now, as PvE, which you really should use this weapon for PvE, is to have a small bore activated. You will have some pretty high range for this fusion rifle, and you're most definitely gonna get hits. You're definitely gonna hit something from pretty far ranges. Um, I would definitely try to get used to its kick when you activate this weapon to actually make use of small bore. But honestly, I prefer brace frame because of the max stability, which fusion rifles really need. And honestly, this fusion rifle has really high range and stability. Okay, last but certainly not least, you have 241. Doubles the effectiveness of Army of One perk. Now, this weapon basically is a warlock's best friend. Dado, a famous Destiny YouTuber, likes to use a certain build where you use, hang on a second, the Nothing Manacles and a Void Walker, and you use a grenade called the Scatter Grenade. Now, what the Nothing Manacles do is that it gives you the ability to get 2 shatter grenades, and it's able to track, which is really useful. A lot of people like to use this, just spamming abilities all day and use the scatter grenades. And Either Nova is actually an excellent excellent weapon to use with this build because 2 for 1 is original. Like there's no weapon that's like this. So if you get unsuccessful kills, then you'll get your abilities charged up very quickly. So if you want to use, really this weapon is good for specialty builds. If you want to get your abilities extremely quickly. Honestly, I like this weapon, just to mess around with, the strike, um, patrol, what other things. Really just anything that you could do where you could have fun. I even use this with the Nightfall sometimes. That's how useful it could be. Um, the raid, however, you do want to have a special weapon that does have a lot of DPS. More specifically, the Wrath of the Machine Sniper, which I'll show you in a little bit. So, is this weapon good? Is it bad? And can it be better? I would say this is yet again good. So far, the Wrath of the Machine has some solid weapons. I would say some of the best selection in the game so far. You know, if not all these weapons are absolutely fantastic, they're at least good. Like they're actually useful. Um, Certainly, this weapon could be better by having a slower charge rate, higher impact, but that's the only thing I could complain with this weapon. If it had about the Thesan, fusion rifle archetype, I wonder if I had this on my Warlock, uh, the vacancy archetype, that if the either Nova had the vacancy archetype, then certainly this will be an excellent fusion rifle to use. I would probably give this a 3.4, just for usefulness. Honestly, this is a very good gun. Okay, next weapon, the Ex Machina. For some reason, this is named after the movie, which is basically a techno horror movie. Anyway, jokes aside, this is actually a really good weapon, which I'll show you in a little bit. So like every Wrath of the Machine weapon, you get Whirlwind's Curse, which is actually really good against fallen bosses, because sniper rifles, most of the time they're used for DPS. Okay, so for the first skill tree, you have Linear Compensator, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke. Honestly, with this weapon, it doesn't matter having Accurized Ballistics or Linear Compensator, but guess what? I'm going to recommend Linear Compensator yet again. It's just more predictable to use, and this weapon actually needs more predictability because its stability is kind of, it's not the best. So you want to have, some good scopes, and you want to have some good, stats involving with this weapon. I forget to mention that the Ex Machina has different arc different elementals. It really doesn't matter what kind of elemental that you use. I like to have either arc or void, specifically for the captains, either if they're Sivified or not. So yeah, I actually have two Ex Machinas. One of them is arc and one of them is void. And depending on what the nightfall or what kind of activity I do, it's extremely handy to have at least two of these with different elementals, which is actually very useful. So the next perk is Spray and Play. Increases the reload speed of this weapon when the magazine is empty. This is actually an excellent perk for a sniper rifle, mainly because you want to use all the bullets on your magazine using a sniper rifle. And since you're going to empty that magazine, you're going to have Spray and Play activate a whole bunch of times. Therefore, you're going to have your reload speed go faster. That means you have more time shooting the boss. So that means your DPS is going to go up. Really, this sniper is all about DPS, and this is a really good weapon to use. Not only for its good against the Fallen for DPS and for Spray and Play, there's actually one more perk that makes this weapon really good. So, for the second perk tree, we have hand loaded, quick draw, and injection mold. Now, out of all these, I would recommend injection mold mainly for two reasons. One, you get more stability, which you actually need for this weapon. And two, injection mold is actually good for PvP. Since you have faster handling, you have like a more of a snappy feeling with this weapon, and it's actually kind of funny. Ex Machina is a very low rate of fire, really high impact weapon, so it hits like a truck. So when you're using this weapon, you have injection mold for more faster handling. With a heavy sniper rifle, it actually feels extremely interesting. So I recommend injection mold because of the stability and faster handling. Some people like to use quick draw, but I prefer injection mold with like specifically PvE and PvP. And honestly, I just feel more comfortable with that perk. Okay, last but certainly, and I repeat, certainly unleashed is wait for it. Uh, Reloading this weapon when the magazine is empty grants a larger than normal magazine. Now, if you mix spray and play and wait for it, you'll not only have a faster reload speed with this weapon, you'll also have an extra bullet to the magazine, which is 4 instead of 3. This is perk makes what this weapon. This is honestly an excellent weapon. Not only it's excellent because you have Wolan's Curse, which is good for fallen bosses, spray and play, wait for it, and the archetype of this weapon, which hits like a truck. You can have some of the highest DPS you can ever have with this weapon. This sniper actually has it actually has the highest DPS capability with a good amount of boss battles. Honestly, I would recommend using this sniper with all the raid bosses involving DPS, and I totally recommend using this weapon at all times. Like honestly, the only reason you will not use this weapon is to use Golgoroth using the Black Spindle, but that's basically the only time you don't want to use that. So, is this weapon good? Is it bad? And can it be better? Honestly, this is just probably the best sniper to use for PvE in all of the game. Like, if you get this weapon, automatically keep C's and use that weapon every single time. This is such a good weapon, guys. Like, for you PvE nuts who have Ex Machina, you exactly know what I'm talking about. This is such a good weapon. I would give this gun I'm going to have to give this a high one. I'm going to give this a 4.8. Like, honestly. Um, can it be better? I think the only thing to change is have like give this weapon more stability. Since this weapon has low rate of fire and high impact, like it's automatically gonna have low stability, which is okay. You still have plenty of DPS, but if this weapon wants to be overpowered, you want to have high stability. Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. Wait, hang on, let me check. Oh, that's strange. There's a sidearm. That is a raid sidearm. That is extremely strange. I've never seen this before. I guess we gotta look at it then. Okay, so we have the SHAREfactory, and like all weapons from the Wrath of the Machine, that is special or heavy at least, you get any elemental to choose from, along as you have RNG on your side. So it's Solar, Arc, Void, whatever. Has Whirlwind Curse. I'm getting bored of saying that already. So for the first skill tree, we have Smart Drift Control, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke. Hey, we found the first weapon that doesn't have linear compensator. Out of all of these, I'll choose Accurized Ballistics because you have the best perks, and yeah. You could probably want to use Smart Drift Control if you guys absolutely love stability. But I want to have... Oh, actually, yeah, I do recommend Accurized Ballistics because it actually decreases your impact, which you do not want for a sidearm. This actually has, and plus you want to have a little bit of range on this sidearm, so Accurized Ballistics is the way to go. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so for the first skill tree, for the first perk, you'll have Reactive Reload. Reloading this weapon after a kill grants a bonus damage for a short time. This is actually interesting for a sidearm. If you kill an enemy, of course. Um, Here's the thing about sidearms. Like when you're doing PvP, sidearms is the meta, right? And in order to use the meta, you always got to use sidearms. Like it's, there's two things involving with this. So with this sidearm, if you want to use this in full potential, you gotta keep an eye on special ammo, and every time you kill an enemy, you gotta reload, and then you can get bonus damage, which could be quite deadly for PvP. But I'm going to tell you something in a second where I think that's probably not the best idea. Okay, for the second skill tree, you have hand loaded, react speed reload, and quick draw. I honestly recommend hand loaded automatically because you want to have as much range and stability as possible with sidearms. And then last but not least, you get quick reaction. Gain increased agility while reactive reload perk is active. So is this good? Is this bad? And can it be better? Honestly, um, this weapon really depends, like, on your play style. Like, personally, I don't like it because I have my trusty Wormwood, and since that has good stability and range and impact and all that, then I like to use that weapon, but than any other. Steel Vector is actually good for, honestly, if you have a sidearm that's good for PvE, then this is the weapon to use. You could certainly have efficiency with sidearms with PvE if you're using this weapon. Um, in fact, I would say this is the best sidearm to use for PvE. However, sidearms aren't really made for PvE. In fact, they're made for PvP. PvP wise, some people like to use this a lot. But personally, I don't like to use this because, you could definitely use more range on this. You can definitely have more stability, but this takes away a good chunk of your range. But if you want to have enough range, then it takes a good chunk of your stability. And for some reason, that just frustrates me a lot. I want both, uh, you know, good stability and good range off of this weapon. I want to keep that range. I want to keep this stability. If I have that, then yeah, I would say this is a good sidearm, but I can't say that it is good because sometimes I just struggle for getting kills with this weapon. And even if I do get a kill, I only have one magazine worth of ammo, so this basically makes reactive reload worthless using this weapon. So yeah, unless you're keep using special ammo, and like if you're an absolute beast using No Land Beyond and getting special ammo, I don't recommend using this weapon whatsoever. So yeah, I'm this weapon a I'm not gonna like slam this down. I'm gonna give this a 3.1, maybe a 3 out of 5. So yeah, honestly, I would say this is the worst weapon that you can get for the Wrath of the Machine, but it's still fun to use, depending on what's your playstyle. Okay guys, that is the actual end of the video. Make sure you go ahead to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And comment below on what's your favorite video shown in this video. Um, yeah. So, yeah, make sure you go ahead to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. And comment below on what's your most favorite weapon shown in this video. So, like I said before in the beginning of the video, check out my uh, Facebook fan page and my Twitter. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and God bless. Goodbye.